look who it is. It's you. Look, it's me. Look who it is. It's me. I'm blowing up here apparently, so I'm hoping my notifications don't ruin this otherwise perfect collection update that you are in store for. I appreciate you swinging by and sticking with me through the duration of this video. Why would you not? I got some sick fucking albums to tell you about. I got a stack of goodies. We are playing some evil, nasty black metal behind me. Hope the levels are okay. I'm on 40 back there. Got the microphone going on. Got this new setup here. Kind of reminiscent of the old place. I got my desk up here. Got my phone mounted on kind of the corner of it. I know, obviously I don't have 3,000 CDs mounted on the wall up here, but I brought the desk from downstairs up here so that I could have a little more comfortable editing space here, because editing these videos does take some time. So anyways, new spot, we'll see. Just kind of moving around all over the house. So the music, it's what you're here for, not this idiot. The last album I'm gonna be talking about in this video is so crucial, so crucial. So I hope you stick with me through this, or at least just scrub to the end to find out what it is, because I can't wait to tell you about it. First off, we have Broken Torso with Isn't It the Ultimate Abhorrence? Yes. So the homie, Brother from Another Mother, Explosive Action, sent me a link to this the other day, and I wound up listening to it, and immediately just wallet, take it, whatever. So this album was originally released on CD in the year 2000, limited to 500 copies, and just didn't really go anywhere from there. I've never heard anybody talk about this band otherwise, and it's just a sick release. So Von Frost Records reissued this guy in 2017. This thing is limited to 100 copies, and it's got some kind of redone artwork on here from Mark Riddick. Got some bugs flying around in here, cool. Not a whole lot to enjoy here, but man, the music on this thing just absolutely devastates. I would say a bolt thrower comparison is like apt, but honestly, I'm hearing kind of a Dominus, a View to the Dim kind of styles here. It's very like gory and abrasive and angry sounding, but there's a lot of like songwriting dynamics and great riffing going on here. These guys have chops. The songwriting chops are just way up there. This is a great release. I managed to find the last copy of this that I could scrounge up from the metal detector. So I'm really stoked to have found just a physical reissue of it, because man, I think that CD copies of this thing are going on Discogs for 50 bucks or so. And I know it's not a shit ton of money, but can't be blowing our whole wallets on CDs these days, can we? At least not if we want to keep buying a shit ton of them. Anyways, I'm not going to get distracted here. So what we're listening to in the background, I have been obsessed with this band, Ritual. Los Angeles's Ritual. So I've had The Summoning, which is their first album, on MP3 for a really long time. Hard to find OG copies of this thing. So I bought a bootleg of it, which will do in a pinch. It was like $8. So I appreciate the seller on Discogs, just, you know, kind of hooking me up with something that's not gonna break the bank, but it's gonna kind of give me what I want. I don't need the real thing, unless it, you know, score it somewhere on the cheap. So this album was originally released in '94, and these guys were kind of infamous in the Southern California, I guess US black metal scene, kind of did some crimes back in the day. They were involved in some kind of ritual. I think there was like they're like associated with a group of guys who did some church burning or something down there. Sketchy stuff. Like I think they like wound up taking some of these guys in for questioning, and they found they had some like satanic ritual things and altars in their house or something. I don't know, whatever, but they got some notoriety for it.
Investigators discovered a mock altar set up at the home of one of the arrested. It stood covered with pornographic pictures and a devil worshipper's manual, according to the police. They say some of those arrested were members of a band called Ritual, whose name was sprayed on the church. Still, no one...
But the music is seriously awesome. So, anyways, what we're listening to in the background is their second album, Demonic Winter Metal, which is also hard to find an OG copy of. So I found finally found a copy of this on eBay. A guy was selling it for like 40 bucks, so I offered him 30 and he countered with 35. And I'm so feeling this album. The riffing is so just simplistic, but very, very apt. The thing that really pulled me in about these guys really was a song on The Summoning, the first album, that reminded me quite a bit of Rotting Christ. And I started to kind of hear a little bit of that influence, and I'm not sure if that's like coincidental. Who knows if these guys would have had Rotting Christ on their radar back in '93 when this came out. I mean, not sure the timeline on that, but like Thy Mighty Contract and Non Serviam, were those right around that time? I think they are. So who knows, but just really, really well done. Just no frills, plain ass US black metal. It's dark, satanic, and I love The Summoning. I don't know if I'd say I love this one even more, maybe, but like I was very familiar with this one. I've had this one on MP3 for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. It's one of those things that I just kind of put on my car USB stick and I've been playing over and over, and finally just one day it just like struck me. I was like, this is fucking perfect. But it struck me that I hadn't checked out their second album, and upon doing that, I just fell head over heels for it. It's amateurish. It's, as you can tell, it's like shitty drum machine programming kind of black metal. These guys are really on par with like a Demon Sea, but I feel like they're maybe a little less. They're maybe a little bit more candid, I guess. A little bit more just kind of like approachable in their presentation, audio-wise. If that makes any sense. But yeah, I've just been absolutely obsessed with these guys. It's been fun to get back into like a black metal mood, and like nobody talks about these guys. So Eric Bauer picked up a vinyl copy of this guy a couple of years ago. Really, really jealous of that. But like, you never hear people talk about this band in the VC, on IG, or whatever. So like, I stress, check this stuff out. This is an awesome riff, and I love the harmony coming in here in a minute. That's what I'm here for. So, last but not least, from the Ritual discography, I picked up this demo compilation, which is an official release-ish. It was on this label called Hell's Metal. I think this is like the only release they ever did. And the CD is a real legit CD, but apparently like the booklet and everything here was just like photocopied or like printed on an inkjet printer, which is fine. Like I really don't give a shit, since I only paid like 18 bucks or something for this thing. But I was really stoked to get into a band, I was into this band already, but like to just, that riffing right there, so Rotting Christ. It's really well recorded too, I think. The guitars are anyways. So anyways, didn't have to pay out the ass for this thing. Dude, I was stoked to like go down a wormhole on a band and come up with copies. One of them's a bootleg, yeah, but come up with copies of their albums for cheap-ish. Going forward in their discography, I've heard some people say their Soldiers Under Satan's Command album is like pretty good, but I've given it like a kind of a couple of minutes of my time and wasn't really feeling it. It's kind of like one of those bands that like in the mid to late 90s kind of spoiled because they wanted to go in like a retro thrash kind of direction, which that was just like a plague in metal at that time. It sucked. It just really fucking sucked to come upon the turn of the century and just watch so many amazing bands just want to play fucking Venom stuff and I think that was really like the turnover of the next generation of like post 2000 black metal. Anyways, I am digressing tangentially all over the place. So I was digging around for the last album that we'll talk about in this video, and I found this super obscure distro. I can't even remember what they were called. Anyways, I'm not going to reveal my secrets because they have a bunch of good stuff in there that I might wind up going back for. Anyways, so there was some like dead stock secondhand used CDs in there. It was like, and stuff was fairly cheap, and there was a lot of promo things in there. So I wanted to find something I kind of never expected to find. But now that I have a copy of it, I'm finding that it's actually not as rare as I really thought it was. It's a weird pressing, but I love Falkenbach, and I've never had a copy of their first album. And yeah, and their Mediriki Fari, that one. Anyways, so this is like a kind of a weird pressing on Discogs. It lists that it doesn't, like, no one knows what year it came out. Pretty sure 96, because it says so on the disc. It says like 96 on it. But this is kind of a different pressing because the more circulated copies, I guess, of this have the band's logo on the front. But it looks like shit. They just like, the real version of this, they like scrunched the whole image down, put a big black thing, and then just had the logo across the front of it, which like for that time wasn't really awful, but it looks kind of clumsy and stupid. So it was funny to like come across this version of it that looks the way it does. This copy in my hand takes me back so hard. Looking through the booklet in this thing, like you can see the shitty compression on this book scan that they stole from a library or something. So Falkenbach, if you're not aware, are, to my eye, I believe deserve just a little bit more credit than Bindir for perfecting what would ultimately become Viking black metal post Bathory. I think Falkenbach does it so fucking well. And like to come out swinging right out the gate with a debut that is maybe the best album in his discography. I put this in having never owned a copy of it, and I don't know. I'm not super familiar with this album. I've always had Magna Blandin and all the ones after it. Love that second album quite a bit. Have it on LP even. But for some, I was surprised to find that these songs were still just stuck in my head from who knows. I don't feel like I've gone back and listened to this album. I don't have specific memories of going back and listening to this album fairly often throughout the years. But when I did, they stuck in my head so well that picking up a copy of this in 2022, and the last time I probably listened to this, I would say was probably over a decade ago or so, those songs stuck with me and I could sing along to these songs, and I was like, what? Really? Have I heard these things? Are these songs on the other albums and I don't know it? But no, this is just such a fantastic, memorable milestone of a release in the Viking black metal style that it fucking rules. So now, there are a ton of copies of this on Discogs, like 28 copies of this, all in Europe, mostly all in Europe, for like under 10 euros. So if you're in Europe and you don't know this thing, pick this guy up. It's an OG press, just doesn't have like the logo across the top of it. There's even a couple copies in the US, I think, for like under 20. So like I was surprised. I thought this was like a super ultra rarity, and I was like, oh my god, I found. But it's awesome to finally like finish my Falkenbach collection for very, very cheap. Man, this was so fun to put on after years of, I guess, listening to it and not even like remembering specifically putting it on. I don't know. So as the story goes, I guess he has 6 demos that came out before this first album, and I'm guessing like the best of those demos were what comprised this album. But man, what an amazing songwriter. He just wrote the most memorable harmonies vocally and on guitar. and it's just amazing what he did to take like the kind of Bathory template and modernize it. Albeit kind of clumsily with a drum machine, but I think that really has a lot of charm for nostalgic people like me. So anyways, I love Falkenbach. And when I go on a Falkenbach binge, it's pretty crazy. This is Sadistic Drive with Perpetual Torment. Oh my God. Torture. Perpetual torture. Sorry. Totally different. By the way, check this out. Yeah, badass shirt. So Headsplit put this out. If you're unaware, if you are uninitiated and you want some excellent riffy death metal from Finland, but it doesn't sound Finnish whatsoever. This really takes the first 2, maybe 3 Cannibal Corpse albums and gives them a run for their money. No shit. This thing riffs relentlessly. Unrelentingly. Anyways, I'm a little bit off my game. I've been kind of like sick, under the weather here lately. Seeing a doctor tomorrow. We'll see what's up and see what I need to do. Get the disc in the wrong case. Marty's just killing me right now. Anyways, this thing, I shit you not. Honestly, let's talk about Cannibal Corpse for a second. I don't get what the fuck everybody is losing their goddamn mind about that band. Their first couple of albums are good, but shut the fuck up already. Like, I don't get it. They weren't that great. This gives those first 3 albums a run for their fucking money. I shit you not. Amazing. I listened to this thing probably 10, 15 times in a row over the course of a couple of days. Loved it. So, also, you probably saw my review, hopefully you saw my review of this album. Anyways, Imperial Triumphant with the Spirit of Ecstasy. Blew me away. So, had to get a copy of it. These guys are currently on tour all over the place. And I don't know if I said this in my review video, but it seems like I'm honestly kind of shocked how well people are taking this band, because this is an insanely forward-thinking, weird band. This is such a complex and more of a textural sort of noise listen than it is a metal album. So it's it's confounding to me somewhat that metalheads are picking up on how crazy, insanely unique this album is. Check it out. It's absolutely nuts. I will leave a link down below there for you to check out my full review of it. But man, contender for album of the year. I am not even joking. Picked up this one from Cross Vault. What is it called again? As Strangers We Depart. I think I've talked quite a bit about this band on my channel. And like, I feel like this is in a style that I don't ordinarily reach for. It's very emotionally captivating metal, which it's very rare that I connect emotionally with metal whatsoever. But this thing is wonderful. German band Iron Bonehead put this out, I believe last year. I was calling this a contender for my album of the year this year because I just picked it up this year, but I want to say this actually came out very late last year. So if you're not familiar with Crossvault, you may know Horn from Germany. Great kind of like kind of used to be a black metal band, but kind of turned out to be kind of like a folky Viking-ish sort of thing, I guess. But this thing, man, emotionally impactful. It's very sad and mournful and just kind of lamenting, but catchy, engaging, and just I just feel it. It gets me in the feels, really does. The vocals are, I think, maybe a turning point for a lot of people. They would probably have a hard time, I guess, swallowing his vocals, but I think it's very sincere. Yeah, it's just very sincere, and the album is super melodic and doomy. Like, honestly, I think I connect as well with this Crossvault album as I do 40 Watt Sun or some of the Warning records. Well, the Warning album. Seriously. So if that at all entices you to pick it up, I can't recommend that thing enough. Amazing. All the releases are really, really great, but that one in particular, oh boy. So have you ever heard, this is pretty underground. You may not know, you may not have heard of these guys, but they were from Southern California back in the 80s. Metallica? Kill 'em all. So I spent the greater part of my life just talking complete shit about this band. And I still will, but just, I don't think I've ever had a copy of this thing. And you know, I did that stream on Heavy Metallurgy where I talked about the tribute to Metallica. And I was in this record store that had just like a ton of great stuff and found a copy of this for $5. And I thought, I can't really walk out of here without this thing. I hear so many people in the VC just talking about Metallica. And when I hear that, I want to love Metallica as much as other people. But there's so many caveats to this band, man. They're just, Lars's clumsy drumming literally ruin it for me. I think the best case scenario for this band to really charm me is And Justice for All, which is a record I haven't listened to in 10, 15 years or so. But I'm trying to just kind of re-approach the band from a different angle and just kind of try and let that fall by the wayside, I guess, if I will, but if you will. So yeah, Hit the Lights, Four Horsemen, Anesthesia, Whiplash, it's all there. I guess upon revisiting this, I listened to it once since I bought it last weekend. I guess I didn't remember this being such a, there's a lot of like trad metal things going on here. And I know that's not like a revelation whatsoever, but like I think of this as like a deadly goddamn thrash metal record, but there's a lot of trad metal, Diamond Head kind of stuff sprinkled throughout. I do plan on picking up Ride the Lightning here soon, but yeah, you all know Metallica. I'm not gonna get you into that if you're not already. So I'm working on a video with Kellen, Killing for Company. We're gonna be doing this Cut Your Teeth series where we're gonna like really dig in and dissect a couple of records that are like post-2000 death metal. He did a great series on his own about this. I'll leave a link down below. You can check him out. If you're not subscribed to Killing for Company, it's a great channel just like this where we talk about metal, but he does it way better than anybody else does. I'm not even shitting you. A studious bro, if there ever was one. So I'm really excited to be like working on a video with him wherein we are just like really digging into some fine picks for this series. And this is one of them that I've just kind of had way back in the library of my head. I used to listen to this back when it came out, and I probably haven't revisited this thing in a really long time. That's the story of every single fucking album I buy on my channel, literally. So this is Torchbearer, Yersinia Pestis. God damn it, this glare sucks. Sucks, I tell ya. Look at that. So I need to get like a big black poster put up here. So like, I don't think anybody cares about this band at all. Metal Blade put this out 2004. And I don't know how this band even ever arrived upon my doorstep back when this came out. I think me and my buddy Wayne just kind of downloaded it and listened to it and liked it. Members of Cethereal play guitar on this thing. So I hear a lot of similarity here to Defleshed, which is one of those kind of bands that I hold dear, that I really love, that I feel like not a lot of people are actually all that into. Surprisingly, I think Defleshed were fucking amazing. They were a Swedish band. This is a Swedish band. And they're just like really heavy, clicky, chunky, but there is some, I'm not going to get too much into this because we'll dig into this album when we do the series, but it's fun. It's got some kind of black metal harmony here and there. It's an interesting kind of amalgam of black and death metal. It's going on 26 minutes here, so I'm going to try and speed to the end because it's going to get smoochy there at the end here. Picked this up from a rando dude on Facebook, Mulder. This is their debut, An Act of Revenge. Unspeakable Acts, Dark Descent, split release. This is their debut. It rules. Lots of autopsy, impetigo, asphyx, stylistics going on here. These guys are blowing up with their new LP on Prosthetic Records, which fucking smokes. And this is no slouch. This is great. It was interesting to hear these guys fucking came banging out the gate with an amazing record. This is actually like an EP, I believe. Might just be like the demo pressed on CD. I'm not too sure. I didn't look into it too much. A band I've just kind of grown to love more and more and more over the years. And I kind of went down this wormhole of obsessing about like Cleveland, Ohio death metal for a week or two. I have another couple of releases that we'll talk about that later on. But so I picked up a 7-inch from these guys back at my local record store in '97 or something. And I thought, generic death metal, whatever, I'll just throw it in the collection. In fact, I let it sit there at the record store for probably 3 years or so until I finally came around to just like picking it up, because like I was just a fucking Hoover back then, picking up any metal that I could. So had this 7-inch in my collection for years and years and years and years and years. Found myself listening to the only full length that these guys wound up recording a couple of years ago. The name escapes me right now, but I'll put the amazing album cover up right here for you to enjoy, because it's one of my absolute favorite album covers. In fact, I considered that album cover when I was choosing my albums for my flags here in the last run. I might go ahead and pull the trigger on it. Anyways, this is Decrepit. The Birth of Sin, the Creation of Sin, sorry. Got birth on the brain, don't I? So this includes that 7-inch that's been in my collection forever. I still have it. There's also some demo stuff on here, some live stuff. Yeah, a couple tracks from the Hymns of Grief and Pain demo, bonus track from the Wake EP, which is recorded at the same time as that 7-inch. And this was released on, was it self-released? No, Dismal Records. So Dismal Records did just a handful of releases back in the day that were very much in the style of these guys, which is just absolutely flawless, mid-paced death metal. They're not brutal, but just I absolutely savor the sound of these guys. It reminds me of Dusk. That just sounds it sounds like I'm in the room with these guys, listening to them jam, and it just absolutely rules. It's memorable, really, really catchy, nice harmonies, kind of like Incantation somewhere in there, kind of some Obituary. They just sound like Cleveland death metal. So last but not least, again, this is going to be featured in the Cutting for Teeth series with Kellen, so I am fully ready to spend 3 hours talking with Kellen about this album. And so I'm going to try and keep it brief here, but I have just been in complete and utter awe of this album. It's been on my radar for quite a while. In fact, my ex-girlfriend who passed away last Christmas asked me on the phone, boy, we were talking on the phone back in like 2005 or so, which was about 2 years after this was originally released. And she was like shocked that I hadn't heard of this band or this album. And that memory just stuck with me. And I wound up, I think after that phone call, probably downloading it on Soulseek and going, yeah, pretty cool, death metal, whatever. And then I want to say maybe last year or so, I checked it out again and it was like, damn, this is fucking nuts. And it's just confounding. It's an insane record. So then when Kellen presented to me actually I think I begged him to let me do this series with him. This was an album that fit that template absolutely perfectly. And so this album is confounding, amazing. It just defies all reason. So don't judge the album cover because it's god awful. The album cover is gonna tell you a lie. So it looks like some kind of graffiti kid in 1998 made a logo for his band and 3D-ified it on GeoCities. Yeah, so the band is called Pavor, P-A-V-O-R. See that right there. and the album is called Furioso. Nothing really appealing there. I know, like, I'm gonna try and overcome all of the visual language that you are receiving here. This thing, though, is just think of the most technical death metal album you've ever heard. I think for a lot of people that would probably be Necrophagist's Epitaph. That is a landmark of brutality, technicality, etc., etc. I think it's pretty overrated. But think of something like on that level of shreddiness. They're just like, it's ridiculous how shreddy it is. This record makes that sound like Sesame fucking Street. Shit you not. The shreddiness on this thing, the technicality on this thing is dizzying. It's insane. And like, I'm not a tech head. I'm not a fucking prog nerd whatsoever. But when a band has chops all over the place and they can just surprise you at every turn, every time you're enjoying a riff on this thing, they'll establish a riff and then change it and then change it again. And every single time you just the second you think you understand or become familiar with what you are being presented with, it changes and becomes even more technical, complicated, diverse. It's gonna put your jaw on the floor with what it is. You're either gonna love it or you're gonna just be ultimately just completely confused and drooling, not being able to consume what this album contains. I'm literally speechless. I'm having a really hard time wrapping my brain around it. It's fucking mind-blowing. So this was a self-released release back in 2003, and the band still sells copies of this thing to this day. I'm not sure if it was very limited, but I found that out after I wound up spending like kind of some money on this and importing it from Spain. So you can pick up copies of this thing. I will leave a link down below for you to check it out. In fact, since this is self-released, I'm pretty sure I can get away with not copyrighted material, but I urge you to give this thing a chance. It's insane. That's all I can say about it. So please stay tuned. Look forward to me and Kellen shooting the shit about a couple of these albums soon and more. I'm working on a pretty hefty playlist of good stuff here for that. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for kicking it in my comfy chair, and we'll see you next time. possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the never-ending, undying love and support of my Patreon subscribers, some of whom are... If you would like to be a part of supporting my channel and encouraging me to make more content that's as good as the one you just watched, join the Patreon. It's $6.66 a month, and I would appreciate your support. Thanks for watching either way.